Hello guys, welcome to my channel once again, where we make videos that cover all you need to know about medical doctors and medical students. I had done an earlier video where I talked about 7 misconceptions about babies, and a lot of requests were coming in that I should do more, and people were bringing suggestions of some practices that are being carried out that they would want my take on the medical implications. This brought about this video in which I talked about 8 more misconceptions about babies. If you have not watched the earlier videos, I will drop the link at the end of this video so that you can watch it. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe and turn on the bell notification. I drop videos every Tuesday and every Saturday. And to my returning subscribers, thank you for returning once again. So without further ado, let's dive into today's video. Now I know my earlier video will have made me quite unpopular amongst a lot of mothers, especially elderly mothers, but then these are scientific facts, and many of these have caused harm to children. A lot of children had died as a result of these practices. Some have been scarred for life as a result of this. Some of us that had escaped this are just lucky, but remember that before, parents were being encouraged to give birth to a lot of children because in case some die, some were able to have survived also. But with improved medical knowledge, improved facilities, and improved medical intervention, childhood mortality is gradually reducing. And these are some preventive measures that also help to cut down childhood mortality. I really hope that this video spreads to as much people as possible so that they'll be educated, and this will save a lot of children from the unnecessary stress they go through based on some common and very popular misconceptions. Okay, the first is pressing the head of your baby or even the nose to make it have an appropriate shape. Now, there's no scientific basis for this. The shape of a child's head or nose or whatever part of his body is largely genetic. And most times a child might go through some stress before being delivered, and the shape of the head might not come out the way parents envision it. There's something called caput succedaneum, which is a swelling of a child's scalp. It's as a result of pressure exerted on the scalp when the child is passing through the mother's pelvis, and this usually results after a few hours. So when the child is being given birth to, the shape of the child's head or the shape of the nose might not really be what the parents had envisioned it to be. It might not even look remotely to the shape of the parent's head, and many practices encourage pressing the head or pressing the nose so that it becomes more appropriate or more beautiful. That does not do anything. Over time, the shape of the child's head or the nose or whatever part of his body or part of her body would come to manifest itself. And as I said earlier, this is genetically linked. So pressing a child's head causes actually more harm than good, and it could also cause fatal accidents. Leave the child's head or nose as it is. The second misconception is cutting a child's hair so that the real hair comes out. Please, this is a very, very wrong practice. It has no basis for it. Understand that cutting a child's hair does not make the hair that is coming out to be faster or fuller or thicker. It does not do anything like that. There's no basis for that. In fact, this practice causes more harm than good. It's been advised that when you're going to cut your child's hair, your child should at least be able to sit on his or her own before doing that, because there are 2 broad dangers that as a result of that. First is a child will sit, and for younger children that cannot sit, keeping them in a sitting position for a long time causes enough stress for them, and this could even cause bodily harm to them. Please stop that. And then secondly is the injuries that could be as a result of using the sharp objects to cut the child's hair. You could cause laceration. Also, if an unsterilized object is being used, it could introduce infections that could be detrimental to the child. Stop that practice totally. The third misconception, which is commonly practiced too, is introducing prelacteal feed to a neonate. Prelacteal feed is any food other than breast milk that is given to a child within the first 3 days from birth. These are being done usually for traditional purposes or religious purposes. Some give some certain food that they are conversant with to the child for different reasons. Others to give holy objects like anointing oil, that's usually an olive oil that is being prayed for, or something called Zamzam water. Now, the dangers of these things are that, especially if these things are contaminated, it could easily introduce infection to these neonates. These neonates do not have enough immunity within them to fight these microorganisms that are being introduced. Some go as far as giving neonates or infants honey. It's been widely established that you don't give any child honey till at least the child's first birthday. This is as a result of the fact that there is a microorganism called Clostridium botulinum which causes botulism, and this is a form of disease that attacks the nervous system and could cause paralysis and even death. It's more dangerous in infants or children less than 1 because their guts are not strong enough to be able to handle this microorganism when it gets into their guts. Don't give honey to children. It is very, very harmful. Another danger of this is that you also deny the child of rich milk. The breast milk has been established to be nutritious and sufficient to meet the nutritional requirement of an infant. So denying the child of this breast milk, especially within the first few days of his life or her life, could be very fatal. Malnutrition comes with a lot of problems. It predisposes a child to infections too. So please don't do that. Except a mother cannot give breast milk to a child, there are formulas for neonates and infants which you can introduce to the child, and you do that. Don't give anything on whatever basis it is. The next misconception is covering a child's fontanelle. It's commonly known as a crack on the child's head. You notice that for neonates and infants, there's usually a soft space. These soft spots are called the fontanelles, and they are just spaces where the bones that make up the skull are yet to fuse. And this is very important because it gives room for the child's brain and head to grow appropriately. There are 6 fontanelles in children typically: the anterior fontanelle, the posterior fontanelle, the paired sphenoid fontanelle, and the mastoid fontanelle. However, there's a 7th one which is usually found in disease conditions like Down syndromes or congenital infections like rubella. It's called the 3rd fontanelle, and it's usually very, very uncommon. This fuse later on in life, some earlier than others. You can imagine the size of the child's head at birth is around 35.5 centimeters, and then by 1 year, it's almost 10 centimeters greater than it was at birth. The presence of this fontanelle gives room for that, because if these things fuse too early, it could cause a problem. As the brain is growing, it wouldn't have enough space, and this could be fatal. A tip: there's a medical condition in which these fontanelles fuse very early, and this is called craniosynostosis. This is usually very fatal. Add that to your medical knowledge. Thank you. So pressing these fontanelles could damage the brain or the skull. This could be as fatal as causing the death of a child. So please don't touch anything. Don't touch the fontanelle. It fuses over time on its own. It is not an abnormality. There's nothing wrong with your child when you notice that soft spot. It is very, very normal. The next is applying substances on a child's umbilical cord. The umbilical cord should be left alone. You can clean it with gauze and sterile water, and that is okay on its own. In some cases, you might need to use soapy water to just clean it, but the umbilicals does not even need you to apply anything like methylated spirit or even antibiotics ointment on it. It usually falls off within 5 to 15 days. Just try to keep it very dry and avoid touching it. Some put substances, and this could cause infections, and this will lead to sepsis. and sepsis is not good for babies. Please leave the child's umbilical cord alone. Another similar to the umbilical cord is applying substances on a child's circumcised penis. Many parts of the world practice circumcision compared to those that don't, especially in Africa and the Middle East. When a child's penis is being circumcised, it doesn't need anything to be applied. Something as little as a petroleum jelly is enough for it. The same principle, allow it to be dry most times. You don't need to clean it to anything. You don't need to apply antibiotics except it's clearly infected. A health worker will be able to tell you that. So if you suspect there's anything wrong with the circumcised part, you could just go to the hospital and let the health worker examine that and be able to tell you what it is and also tell you what to do or how to go about it. Stop applying things, as this could cause serious problems to children. There could be bad scar formation that will affect the shape of the penis. There could be infections too, amongst other things. It could be so bad that a child could die as a result of that too. Please don't do that. Stop that. Stop encouraging that. The next is, many mothers believe that exclusively breastfeeding a baby will make the child not to eat properly or eat much after the child is being weaned. Some even believe that a child will be way more difficult to wean if he or she is being exclusively breastfed. That is false. Okay, yes, every child has his or her peculiarities. Some might eat more than others, and this even happens among siblings that are being born by the same parents. Just know that it has nothing to do with being exclusively breastfed. There are some that had not been exclusively breastfed that don't eat much, and there are some that were exclusively breastfed and they eat much. Weaning is a patient thing and it's a peculiar journey for every child on its own. So don't use that as an excuse not to exclusively breastfeed your child. If you can't, on many grounds, it's permissible, but ensure that whatever you're giving the child is nutritious enough to make the child grow. Breast milk is a natural substance that means that it's very convenient and it's being advised that you do that. So please stop that misconception that when you exclusively breastfeed, your child wouldn't eat much or your child will be too clingy too. That's another thing that's being attached to that. No, it is not true. Then the last misconception is that shaking babies or throwing them will drive away fear from them or it will make them brave. That is not true. Children are born to be very, very curious. As they grow, they become way more conscious of their environment and will try to interact with the environment. Many parents will attest to you that children are very, very adventurous, and fear is something that is not really in them. They learn fear or boldness from us. And so if you want your child to be bold, you have to also play an active role in that, and that is not being achieved by throwing a baby up or shaking a baby, because when these are not done properly, they could harm the child. There's something called a shaking baby syndrome, in which a baby develops a brain injury as a result of being shaken violently, and this happens when people shake babies too much. So avoid that. Or sometimes when you throw the baby, you could miss and the baby falls, and that will be traumatic to the baby too. So please just stop that. It doesn't do anything. Instilling courage in a child has more to do with how deliberate you are to groom the child when the child starts interacting with the environment and interacting with you, instead of shaking the baby or throwing the baby up. That's all for today's video. What do you think about it? What did you like? What didn't you like? What did you learn? What are you very appreciative for? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss videos like this. Don't forget to share with many people that will find this very helpful. See you in my next video.